How an old photo changed my perspective forever. Before we begin the story, make sure to subscribe to our channel and never miss more incredible stories every day. My mom's face emptied the second she saw the photo. It happened in my childhood kitchen, the same chip table where she used to pack my lunches like it was armor. I'd come over to help her clear the attic because she'd slipped on the back steps the week before. Elaine wouldn't call it a fall. A stumble, she insisted, teeth clenched, pride first, pain second. I was 31, old enough to know families survive on selective memory. Mine ran on it like gas. I'd carried one story my whole life. My dad walked out when I was 9. No note, no call, no birthday cards. Just a silence so complete it felt like a verdict. Mom said he'd chosen himself. I believed her because believing her meant the pain had a direction. In the attic, under Christmas lights that hadn't worked since the early 2000s, I found a shoebox wrapped in a grocery bag. On top, in my mom's neat cursive, were 3 words: do not open. Of course I opened it. Most of it was junk: old pay stubs, a dried corsage, a newspaper clipping about a car crash on the interstate. Then I pulled out a single 4x6 photo, glossy but worn at the edges, like it had been handled too many times and hidden too quickly. The back had a blue stamp. Sundial photo, Cedar Falls, Iowa. Someone had written in black ink, shaky, "Keep this safe." He did it for you. In the picture, a younger Elaine sat in a diner booth, hair in a messy clip, holding a toddler that was unmistakably me. Same cowlick, same wide, suspicious eyes. Across from her sat a man I recognized, even though I hadn't seen him in 22 years. My dad. Older than I remembered. Thinner, his right hand wrapped in gauze. He was smiling, but his smile looked like it hurt. I brought it downstairs like a live wire. Elaine took one glance and reached for it like she meant to destroy it. "Where did you get that?" she snapped, voice too sharp for a stumble weak. "In your attic," I said, keeping my hand on the corner. "Why is Dad in a diner with us?" "He isn't," she said immediately, and that was the first lie. Because the photo wasn't subtle. The window behind him reflected the neon sign, and the date stamp in the bottom right corner screamed in orange numbers. Then I noticed the date stamp, 5 years after Dad vanished. All my anger had a script. When I was 9, I came home from school and saw my mom sitting on the living room floor, back against the couch, staring at the phone like it had betrayed her. A single suitcase was propped by the door. Not hers. I remember stepping around it like it was a dead animal. "Where's Dad?" I asked. Elaine wiped her face with the heel of her hand and said, "He left." Kids always ask the wrong follow-up. I didn't ask why. I asked, "When's he coming back?" She looked at me like I'd asked when Winter would apologize. "He's not," she said, "and you don't chase people who don't want you." After that, she filled in the blanks with words that stung even if you didn't understand them yet. Selfish, coward, liar. She didn't say crime. She didn't have to. The way she slammed cabinets made him dangerous by default. At 13, I found a crumpled picture of him in a drawer and asked if I could keep it. She took it from me and ripped it clean in half. "You don't need him," she said. "You have me." So I made my resentment practical. I worked. I didn't drink. I paid my bills early. I became the kind of man who couldn't be abandoned because he didn't require anyone. But the absence still found ways to bruise. At graduation, Elaine clapped too loud and took pictures like it could fill an empty space. Every achievement had a shadow shaped like a person who never showed up. Every time I questioned it, my mom shut the door with one sentence: "He chose to disappear." Malik had heard this story from me 100 times over cheap beer and late-night takeout. "Some dudes are just ghosts," he'd say. "You don't owe a ghost anything." That's what made the attic photo feel like someone had edited my life with scissors. The man in the diner wasn't a ghost. He was there, close enough to touch. Close enough to bleed on the table if he leaned wrong. Close enough to look at toddler me with something that wasn't emptiness. And there was one detail I couldn't stop replaying. His left hand, resting on the booth, wore a plain gold band. But the photo showed his wedding ring, and my mom hated rings. Elaine tried to play it off after her first flash of panic, like panic was just indigestion. "That's old," she said, voice suddenly soft. "Put it back." "Back where?" I asked. "In the box marked do not open." Her jaw tightened. "In the past." She reached again. I pulled the photo away like it could cut us both. For a second, we were frozen. Her hand out, mine clenched, a grown man guarding paper from his own mother. Then she dropped her arm and turned toward the sink, busying herself with nothing. Casey, she said, not looking at me, you don't know what you're holding. I left before my temper made the kitchen smaller. In my car, I held the photo up to the dome light and actually looked. Evidence looked. The corners were rounded from years in a wallet. There was a crease down the middle that had been flattened, then creased again, like someone kept changing their mind about destroying it. The orange date stamp read 08/14/2006. Along the border, faint but there, Kodak Royal. I zoomed in with my phone camera on the background. Behind my dad's shoulder was a neon sign shaped like a crescent moon, Luna's Diner. Under it, a smaller sign. Next exit, 3 miles. Not my neighborhood. Not even my county. On the table, half out of frame, sat a manila envelope with a red stamp. Confidential. My dad's bandaged hand rested on it like he was guarding it, too. I flipped the photo over. The lab stamp was crisp, sundial photo, Cedar Falls, Iowa. Order number 12984. Beneath it, my mom's handwriting, the same hand that wrote my name on lunch bags. Keep this safe. He did it for you. E. But there was another mark, letters pressed into the paper from behind. I tilted it. The indentation caught the light. June, please. June. My chest tightened. Why would my mom write another woman's name on a secret photo? I ran my thumb along the edge and felt tape. Something flat had been taped to the back, perfectly aligned, hidden by the photo itself. I peeled it slowly, the adhesive resisting like it still had loyalty. The tape came free, and a second photo slid into my palm, smaller, older, even more worn. Taped behind it was a second print, and my face wasn't there. The second photo was darker, like it had been taken under cheap fluorescent lights. No orange date stamp, just a smudged corner where one might have been, like someone had rubbed it out. Elaine was in it. Same nose, same stubborn mouth. She looked thinner, eyes swollen like she'd been crying for days. She stood in a parking lot beside a blue sedan I didn't recognize, clutching a manila envelope to her chest with both hands. My dad stood a step behind her, cap pulled low. He wasn't smiling. He looked like someone waiting to be sentenced. In the far corner, half cut off, a man in a dark jacket had police across his back and a phone at his ear. Even blurry, his posture screamed authority. I went back inside. Elaine was still at the sink, rinsing an already clean mug. When she saw the second photo in my hand, the faucet squealed as she shut it off. What is that? She asked, but her voice already knew. From the same box, I said. I laid it on the table. This is you. That's him. Who's the cop? It's not a cop, she said too fast. A security guard. You're. I'm not imagining anything. I tapped the jacket lettering. It says police. Her throat worked. You shouldn't have opened that box. You wrote do not like you were daring me. My hands were shaking, and I hated it. You told me you never saw him again. You told me he disappeared. He did disappear, she snapped, then caught herself. For us. That's not what you said. I shot back. You said he chose himself. She shoved the photo away like it was dirty. Casey, you don't understand what that time was like. Then explain it, I said. Explain June. Explain Cedar Falls. Explain why you're holding a confidential envelope in a parking lot with police behind you. Elaine's shoulders sagged. For a second she looked old like secrets had weight. I was trying to keep you safe, she whispered. From what? I asked. She stared at the photos like they were a wound. Then she looked up at me, and something in her eyes made my stomach go cold. Elaine whispered, if you call June, you'll wake him up. Malik didn't let me spiral for long. You've got a lab stamp and a town, he said. That's not a mystery. That's an errand. I slept maybe 2 hours. At dawn, I told my mom I was running errands and ignored the way she flinched at the word. She didn't stop me. That silence felt like permission and a warning at once. Cedar Falls was 90 minutes of flat winter fields. Malik met me off the highway, coffee in hand, face set like we were walking into something official. The address on the stamp led to a narrow brick building. Sundial photo was gone, replaced by a sign that read, Cedar Falls Public Archive and Local History. A bell chimed when we entered. An older woman looked up from behind the desk, silver hair in a bun, glasses on a chain. Can I help you? She asked. I held up the photo. This stamp says Sundial photo. Her eyes tightened. It used to be, she said. I'm June. My stomach dropped at the name. Malik shot me a look. You hear that? June took the photo with careful fingers, flipped it over, and paused on the order number. 12984, she murmured. I remember that. You remember my mom? I asked. I remember scared people, she said. Elaine Mallory. That's her handwriting. Hearing my mom's last name in a stranger's mouth made it real in a way my anger never had. June lowered her voice. She came in twice that week. First time she wanted extra prints. Second time she wanted proof the negatives were gone. Were they? Malik asked. June's gaze flicked toward the back room. We didn't keep negatives for everything, she said. But a man came in later. Bandaged hand. Paid cash. Asked me to keep one envelope here, under my name. My pulse thudded. My dad. June didn't correct me. She opened a drawer and pulled out a worn manila envelope with my mom's handwriting on the front. She set it on the counter like it weighed more than paper. He said it was for you, June added, in case you ever needed the truth. My fingers hovered over the envelope, suddenly afraid of what paper could do. June slid an envelope over and said, He's been sending money. I didn't open the envelope in June's lobby. I couldn't. It felt like opening it would make everything inside true. Malik drove us back while I stared at my mom's handwriting on the front. Halfway home, my phone lit up. Elaine. I answered on speaker. Where are you? She demanded. Out, I said. I found June. There was a sharp inhale. Why would you do that? Because you lied, I said, voice shaking. Because you let me hate him. Don't, she said, and the word cracked. Casey, please. Just don't. I have an envelope, I told her. From June. With your handwriting. Silence. Then, smaller, bring it home. When I got to her house, she was waiting in the doorway, arms crossed like she could block time itself. The second she saw the envelope, her face tightened with something that looked like grief dressed as anger. You had no right, she said. I'm your son, I snapped. If this is about me, I have a right. Elaine took the envelope from my hand. She didn't tear it. She just held it, knuckles white. You don't know what he did, she whispered. What did he do? I asked. Her eyes flashed. He put us in danger. Or you did, I said before I could stop myself. That landed. She looked away at the framed, happy photos in the hallway like they were witnesses. I chose you, she said, voice raw. Every day, I chose you over him. Choosing me shouldn't require lying, I said. Elaine swallowed. If you keep digging, you'll drag things back that I buried for a reason, she warned. There are people who don't forget. Malik spoke from behind me, quiet but firm. Secrets don't stay buried, Elaine. They rot. She stared at him like he'd broken something sacred, then turned to me, eyes wet. Promise me you'll stop, she said. I couldn't. I took the envelope back and felt something inside me settle. Not rage, but resolve. If my life was built on a story, I needed to know whose story it was. That night, my mom locked her bedroom door like I was the threat. I opened the envelope at my apartment with Malik sitting across from me like a referee. Inside were money order stubs, a bus ticket, a motel receipt, and one sheet of lined paper in my mom's handwriting. The money orders were all $250, sent almost every month for years. The sender wasn't Dad. It was CH. The purchase locations jumped state to state. The dates made my stomach twist. He'd been paying while I was telling myself he didn't care. The note was short. June has copies. If anything happens, tell Casey the truth. He deserves it. Don't let him go looking without Malik. Malik read his own name and exhaled through his teeth. Okay, he said. So this isn't just guilt. This is planning. The bus ticket was Cedar Falls to our city, dated August 15th, 2006, one day after the diner photo. The passenger name had been scratched out so hard it tore the paper. The motel receipt hit harder, Riverbend Motor Inn, room 214, paid cash. And the name printed at the top wasn't Mallory. Elaine Harris. I didn't know any Harris. My mom's last name had always been Mallory. It was on my birth certificate, my school forms, everything. Seeing Harris felt like watching my own foundation crack. Malik pulled up public records. We found a 2006 rental application in Cedar Falls under Elaine Harris. Then nothing, like she stepped out of the world. So we went back to June's archive and used the microfiche reader. The machine hummed. The screen flickered. Malik scrolled through August 2006 papers until a tiny article stopped us. A federal case in our city. Arson and extortion. Key witness relocated for safety. No names. Just a void where a person should be. At the bottom, assistance provided by Detective R. Rivera. Malik tapped the screen. That's the guy in the parking lot. My mouth went dry. Why would a detective help my mom change her name? June didn't answer. She just watched me like she was waiting for me to catch up. The motel registry listed my mom under a last name I'd never seen. Back at Malik's place, we spread everything out like we were building a case. Both photos, the money order stubs, the bus ticket, the motel receipt. Malik grabbed a magnifying app on his phone and started zooming in on the diner picture. You sure that's you? He asked. I laughed, bitter. Who else has this tragic cowlick? Humor me, he said, and his tone made my skin prickle. He enlarged my toddler wrist. I'd been so focused on my dad's face and the date stamp that I hadn't looked at my own arm. But there it was, thin white plastic, the kind hospitals snap on and never take off until discharge. A bracelet. My bracelet. Malik angled the screen and squinted. There's text. It's probably just. I started, then stopped because my throat closed. The letters were grainy, but legible enough. Harris, Casey. Under it, a number like a patient ID. Under that, in tiny print, pediatric. That can't be right, I said. Malik didn't look up. Your mom's motel receipt says Harris. The bracelet says Harris. This isn't a typo. I stared at my own tiny arm in that photo like it belonged to a stranger. If my last name was Harris in 2006, then Mallory wasn't just a name I inherited. It was a name someone chose for me later. I flipped the photo over again and reread my mom's note. He did it for you. Not he stayed. Not he loved you. He did it. Like an action. Like a sacrifice. My anger shifted, turning into something colder and scarier, dread. What if, I said slowly, what if Dad didn't leave? What if he was removed? Malik finally met my eyes. Or what if your mom removed you? He said, and I hated him for being willing to say it. I thought about Elaine locking her bedroom door. About the ripped photo in my childhood drawer. About every time she shut down questions with one sentence. I called June's archive line with shaking fingers. It rang twice. June answered like she'd been waiting. Casey, she said quietly. You saw the bracelet, didn't you? My voice came out thin. Why was my name Harris? June paused, and when she spoke again, it was a warning wrapped in kindness. Because someone decided your safety mattered more than your truth, she said. If the photo was staged, then what else about me was staged? June agreed to meet us after closing. Not in the archive, but at a small diner, because, she said, paper listens. We slid into a booth. Malik sat beside me, arms crossed, acting calm. June kept her purse on her lap, like she might have to leave fast. You're not crazy, she said. That bracelet was real. The name was real. Why was I Harris? I asked. June's eyes softened. Because in 2006, your mother wasn't trying to rewrite you, she said. She was trying to hide you. From his dad. Malik asked. June shook her head. From what your dad got tangled in. My stomach tightened. So he was dangerous. He was desperate, June corrected. He saw something he wasn't supposed to see. People got hurt. When the police came asking questions, he answered them. I thought about the manila envelope marked confidential. About the microfiche line. Key witness relocated for safety. June leaned closer. When someone cooperates, the whole family can become a target. Your mother didn't have money or connections. She had you. She agreed to things she hated so you could stay invisible. Like changing my name, I said. The paperwork had to match, June said. Same last name as your father. Less noise. Less chance someone spots you in a school registry and follows the thread. My anger stumbled. I pictured Elaine ripping my dad's photo in half when I was 13. Not because she hated him, because paper was risk. Then why tell me he disappeared? I asked. Why let me hate him? June didn't flinch. Because if you knew the truth, you'd get curious, she said. Curious kids dig. Your mother tried to raise you boring. Malik let out a humorless breath. That also failed. June's gaze was sad. Elaine had her own grief, too, she added. She felt like your father chose the right thing and left her holding the fear. Sometimes people punish you for saving them. My throat burned. So where is he? June's hand trembled as she pulled a folded card from her purse. A name and a number were written in block letters, not my mom's cursive. I was told, June said quietly, that if you ever asked, you should call this. Then June told me who forced the name change, and it wasn't Dad. June didn't say the government, But she didn't have to. It wasn't your father, she told me outside the diner. Rivera brought the paperwork. Rivera brought the warnings. He told your mother what name to use if she wanted you to stay breathing. So Rivera did this, I said, tasting the sentence like rust. June pressed the card into my hand. If you reach out, she added, do it once. Not 10 times. I called the number in my car. It rang, then clicked to voicemail. A man's voice, older, steady. Detective Rivera. Leave a message. Detective. Not retired. My skin prickled. This is Casey, I said. Elaine's son. I have questions about 2006. About my name. Please call me back. I hung up and sat there, half expecting lights in my rear view. Nothing happened. Until I got home. My apartment door was shut, but the deadbolt wasn't thrown. I knew because I always threw it. Malik whispered, don't, but I pushed it open anyway. Nothing looked trashed. No TV missing. Just wrong. The shoebox sat open on my coffee table, its contents scattered like someone had flipped through them fast and careful. The photos were gone. Both of them. So was the envelope. The money order stubs. The motel receipt. Everything that proved I wasn't imagining this. My laptop was still there. My wallet was still there. Whoever came in didn't want valuables. They wanted my past. My phone buzzed with a new voicemail. No number. Just unknown. I played it on speaker. A man's voice, flat, impatient, said, stop digging before you get your mother hurt. The line went dead. I called my mom immediately. Straight to voicemail. Malik's eyes darted to the window. Someone's watching, Case. I wanted to crawl back into ignorance so badly my bones hurt. For a full minute, I considered it. Then I saw something by the couch. A torn photocopy corner, missed in the sweep, stuck under the rug. I pulled it free. One clear thing was printed in bold. Room 214. As I drove away, a black SUV stayed behind me every turn. June wouldn't say more on the phone. She told me to come back to Cedar Falls. Less noise, she said. Malik came anyway. June let us into the archive through a side door after hours. The building was quiet in a way that made every footstep sound guilty. The back room smelled like cardboard and old glue. A fluorescent strip buzzed overhead, flickering. June pulled a metal file box from a shelf and set it on the table. Her fingers trembled. I didn't want to tell you, she said. Because once you know, you can't unknow. I already can't sleep, I said. She opened the box and slid out a thin folder labeled, Harris, Elaine, 2006. My throat tightened. Malik leaned in, eyes scanning. This was the emergency relocation packet, June said. Not official witness protection. More like a temporary shelter program tied to Rivera's unit. The motel. The changed names. The rules. Rules like what? I asked. June didn't look up. No contact, she said. No calls. No visits. Rivera was strict because threats had already been made. My jaw clenched. My mom told me Dad disappeared. June finally met my eyes. Elaine didn't lie about the danger, she said softly. She lied about the choice. She slid out a photocopied statement with my mom's signature at the bottom. The words were plain and brutal. I request that contact from the child's father be denied for the child's safety. Denied. Not he left. Denied. My chest burned. She did this, I whispered. June nodded, heavy. Elaine wanted you safe and normal, she said. And she believed the safest version of you was one who never looked back. Malik swallowed. So she cut him off. She cut him out, June corrected. And your father agreed. That's what she never says. I stared at the page until the letters blurred. Why would he agree? June reached back into the box and pulled out a sealed envelope, edges yellowed, my name written across it in careful block letters. Because Rivera told him the only way to keep you alive was to make you forget him, she said. And because your dad believed it. My hands hovered over the envelope like it might burn me. June leaned in and said, your dad never chose to leave. By midnight, Malik's kitchen table looked like a case file. Documents weighted down with mugs, photos in plastic sleeves, my phone saving the unknown voicemail so it couldn't vanish. June let us copy everything. She even wrote a brief statement. Dates, order numbers, the fact she'd stored the envelope under her name. I'm too old to be scared of paperwork, she said, though her hands still trembled. I made 2 sets. One went into Malik's lockbox. One went into my car's spare tire compartment. It felt paranoid until I remembered someone had already been in my apartment. Then there was the sealed envelope with my name on it. I should open it, I said. Malik didn't argue. He just asked, "Are you ready to become a different person?" Because once I read my dad's words, my old story would die for good. Before I could decide, my phone lit up with a text from an unknown number. "Call me. Rivera." My pulse jumped. I called immediately. A man's voice answered, rough with age. "Casey, you're Detective Rivera," I said. A pause. He corrected. "Not anymore." "Why did you help my mom change our names?" I demanded. "Why did my father disappear?" Rivera exhaled like someone stepping into cold water. "This isn't a phone conversation," he said. "If you want answers, meet me tomorrow. Public place. Daylight." "Where?" I asked. "County courthouse lot," he said. "Noon. Come alone." "I'm not alone," I said, glancing at Malik. Rivera ignored that. "And don't bring your mother," he added. "She made her choices." That line lit my anger on fire. I hung up and immediately called Elaine. She answered on the third ring, voice tight. "Casey, stop. I'm meeting Rivera tomorrow," I said. "And you're coming." Silence. Then her breath hitched. "You can't." "I can," I said. "You don't get to rewrite my life and then ask me to be grateful." She cried quietly, like she'd been holding it for years. "You don't understand what you're risking." "Then tell me," I said. "All of it. If I meet you," she whispered, "it has to be on my terms." "What terms?" I asked. "Bring the letter," she said. "The one from him." My grip tightened on the sealed envelope. Elaine agreed to meet, but only if I promised never to open it. The courthouse parking lot at noon looked painfully normal. That made me furious. Elaine sat rigid in my passenger seat, hands folded so tight her knuckles were white. Malik stood outside my window like a guard dog. "You brought it?" Elaine asked, eyes on the dashboard. I held up the sealed envelope. "You're going to tell me the truth," I said, "or I'm opening it." Her voice went thin. "That letter isn't for your comfort. It's for your safety." A sedan parked 2 rows over with a precision that felt practiced. A man stepped out, mid-40s, gray at the temples, posture that had once been official. No badge. Rivera walked up slow, hands visible. "Casey," he said. Then, to Elaine. Elaine's jaw tightened. "You said no contact." Rivera's eyes flashed. "And you said you'd stop lying to your kid." I cut in sharp. "Why did my dad disappear?" Rivera didn't blink. "Because he talked," he said. "He saw a fire set for money and refused to pretend he didn't. The people behind it decided your family was leverage." Elaine flinched like the word was a slap. Rivera stayed blunt. "Threat started. We moved you fast. Temporary relocation. New names. Motel room. No contact. The more invisible you were, the better." "So the photos," Malik said. "Documentation," Rivera replied. "Proof of life." I turned to Elaine. "You told me he chose himself." Elaine's face crumpled, then anger rushed in to hold it up. "Because I was alone," she hissed. "Because he walked into that station and made promises to cops, and I was left holding a child and a target." "You asked for no contact," I said. "June showed me." Elaine's eyes filled. "I did," she admitted. "Because I was terrified you'd miss him, and missing him would make you search. And searching would get you killed." Her voice cracked. "So I made you hate him. I thought hate was safer than love." My rage drained into something hollow and aching. All those years I'd worn resentment like armor. She'd been forging it. Rivera nodded at the envelope. "He wrote that before he disappeared," he said. Elaine whispered, "It was never safe." Rivera nodded toward the letter and said, "He's still alive, Casey." Elaine didn't speak on the drive back from the courthouse. She just stared out the window like she was watching the past replay on the glass. Malik followed us in his car. Rivera had taken the unknown voicemail, his expression tightening when he heard it. "That's not a prank," he said. "That's someone testing you." He told me to file a report about the break-in, not because it would magically fix anything, but because paper trails mattered when fear tried to erase you. When we got to my mom's house, she hovered in the doorway like she was afraid of crossing into a life where her control didn't work anymore. "You made me hate him," I said quietly. Elaine flinched. "I made you alive," she whispered. Both could be true, and that was the part that hurt most. "I'm not cutting you off," I said, "but I'm not letting you rewrite reality anymore. No more one-sentence shutdowns. If you want to be in my life, we do this honestly." Elaine's eyes filled. "I don't know how," she admitted. "I've been holding my breath since 2006. "Then we learn," Malik said, softer than usual. Therapy exists for a reason. Elaine gave a tiny nod like even that word was heavy. Okay, she said. Not a promise, but a start. That night, I changed the locks on my apartment and moved our remaining copies somewhere safer. Rivera texted once, keep it quiet. Do not post anything. Call if you're followed. I stared at that message for a long time. My whole childhood had been keep it quiet. The difference now was I knew why, and I could choose what quiet meant. Elaine called near midnight. Casey, she whispered, please don't open it. I held the sealed envelope in my hands, feeling the paper flex, feeling 22 years of silence press against my palms. I can't heal around a locked door, I said. She made a small, broken sound. Then, if you read it, she said, read it like he loved you. I sat on my couch and let my resentment finally loosen its grip. My fingers slid under the flap. I unfolded the letter at last, and the first line wrecked me. The first line of the letter was simple, and it cracked me clean open. If you're reading this, it means you're safe. Not, I'm sorry I left. Not, I had to go. Safe. Like safety had been the whole religion of my childhood, and I'd never known the name of it. He wrote in plain sentences, no dramatics. He said he'd wanted to come back 100 times and didn't, because love without safety is just another kind of selfish. He apologized for the silence even as he explained it. He told me he'd watched my life from a distance the only way he could. Money orders, a friend of a friend, a librarian with a file box. He thanked Malik by name. That made me laugh and cry at the same time. The part that stayed with me wasn't the details. It was the perspective shift. My story hadn't been abandoned kid grows up hard. It had been two terrified adults making ugly choices so a kid could grow up normal. It didn't erase my pain. It didn't make Elaine's lie harmless. But it made her human. And it made my father real, flawed, scared, trying. The next day, I went to my mom's house and didn't yell. I told her I'd read it. She didn't ask what it said. She just closed her eyes like she'd been waiting for the impact her whole life. I'm sorry, she whispered. Not enough, but honest. We set boundaries in writing. Therapy, full answers when I asked, no more, because I said so. Rivera checked in twice and reminded me that the safest truth is the one you don't broadcast for strangers to chew on. Quiet didn't have to mean denial anymore. I framed the diner photo, not because it was happy, but because it was honest. On the back, I wrote the date I found it, and one sentence I wish I'd learned earlier. People can love you and still hurt you. If you ever stumble on an old photo that doesn't match your family's story, don't treat it like a weapon. Treat it like a clue. Verify what you can. Bring someone steady with you. And remember that the truth can be both uglier and kinder than the version you grew up with.